George, how you doing here, man? They told me you were coming. I said, if
All the more
Jesus
reason
is,
to stay away.
no way, dude. I said, if Jesus is in there, I'm here.
Profundity of your statements.
They would bring. Anything. Ship sail. Good morning.
Good.
I don't know if it is or not. If it is, if they.
Good morning, everyone. It is 11:03 and Julie Cairns will be running the joint TMC RMC meeting and the TMC meeting today in the absence of Mario Paniagua. Ms. Cairns, if you're ready, I'd be happy to take a roll.
Okay. I'd like to convene the meeting and welcome members to the September Transit Management and Rail Management Committee meeting. Pat, please call the roll.
Okay. Marshall Pimentel, City of Avondale. John Willett, City of Buckeye. Ryan Peters, City of Chandler. Autumn Groom, City of El Mirage. Dave Trimble, Town of Fountain Hills.
Here.
Mary Goodman, Town of Gilbert.
Here.
Shahid Abbas, is
Yeah,
that correct, sir?
yeah, Shahid.
Okay, thank you. City of Glendale.
Thank you.
Julie Karen, City of Goodyear.
Here.
Jacqueline Edwards, Maricopa County. Jody Sorrell, City of Mesa. Eric Strunk, City of Peoria.
Here.
Jesus Sapien, City of Phoenix.
Here.
Bruce Gardner, Town of Queen Creek.
Here.
Mark Milanchenko, City of Scottsdale.
Here.
Tracy Montgomery, City of Surprise. Andrew Ching, City of Tempe. Vice Chair, we're ready to proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to apologize. My camera doesn't seem to be working, so please excuse that. If a committee member would like to ask a question or make a comment during the meeting, please type your comment in the box and it will be read aloud and answered. All meeting attendees, please mute your computer microphone or phone. First agenda item is public comment. The public will be provided with an opportunity at this time to address the committees on non-agenda items and all action agenda items. Up to 3 minutes will be provided per speaker unless the chair allows more at his or her discretion. A total of 15 minutes for all speakers will be provided.
Mr. Crowley?
It has been my practice to, when I come up and do the public comment, to cover from the minutes months before and what you have and haven't done with it. Well, in your minutes today, you know what it has for my last month's comments? It's because of technical difficulties. We weren't able to get it, but he talked about the extension in the newspaper article, MAG involvement in the development of the extension, concerns about 3 of the agenda items. Well, I'm still concerned about that Prop 400 extension and MAG's involvement in what was wrote in that. I've got it in a document there that Amy sent to me. Thank you, Supervisor, that got that for me. But I look at this committee, know what you do and what you're supposed to be doing. And I look at the extension going out to the Capitol. And why wasn't it multimodal in its planning and such? What was it, a $30 million contract? Of which our PTA, you know, the half that most of you are here, well, only did 600,000. Was that the reason that the planning was such that it wasn't multimodal? In the new document of which for a year and a half, the legislature had that they shot down, and I had asked from the podium how many times, what is it that you have in this? And you guys have all said, we don't know. Well, if you want to find out, I have a copy. But one of the things that it doesn't have in there is a demand that we do the bus stops every quarter mile and that we all have them sheltered. Because if you don't have it in the document saying this is what you have to be doing, you as a committee and as a group go for the least, at the least expensive because you don't have that much money. And are you really championing what the bus and the rail are supposed to be and do? So as I said, I don't see any movement for you getting it multimodal. Why you didn't do it to begin with, and why you haven't gotten off the dime to fix it, I don't know, because we've had how many days that it's been serious air quality? All I know is I've had a headache for the last 10 right across here because what? You've been in an ozone violation for almost 15 days.
Thank you, sir. Next item on our agenda is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Jessica Miller.
Good morning, TMC RMC members. I have just a couple of brief updates for you today. Next slide, please. I am pleased to announce that the Tempe streetcar has received an award in the Engineering News Record Southwest 2022. The streetcar received the Award of Merit for projects in the transit and airport field. Special thanks go to Valley Metro team members and partners in City of Tempe, and to Stacy Whitbeck, that is our contractor partner who actually submitted the application for this award. But not to be outdone in the fall award cycle, we're also happy to report that the Valley Metro Operations and Maintenance Center expansion project also received an Engineering News Record Southwest 2022 Award of Merit, this time in the Excellence in Safety category. Special thanks go to Valley Metro team members again, and to our contract partner Hensel Phelps, who applied for this award. Both of these projects will be featured in the October 31st edition of Engineering News Record and will be recognized at a luncheon here in Phoenix on November 3rd. Well done, team. Thank you. Looking ahead to our next meeting cycle, we'll meet tomorrow with the Audit Finance Subcommittee and in 2 weeks' time with the Board of Directors on September 22nd. We will have an October meeting cycle. We'll be back in this room here for the TMC RMC meeting on October 12th, and then culminating with the October 27th Board of Director meetings. Thank you.
Okay, item number 3, the minutes from the August 3rd, 2022 TMC RMC meeting are presented for approval. Are there any questions from the committee? If not, I request a motion and a second to approve the August 3rd, 2022 TMC RMC meeting minutes.
So moved. Eric from Peoria.
Do we have a second?
Mary from Gilbert.
Thank you. We have a motion and second. I'm sorry, Pat, can I take a verbal or do you need to do roll call?
A verbal is fine.
Okay, so all members in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4. Jessica Miller, will you be handling this item for us?
Thank you, Ms. Cairns. I'd like to call Adrienne Ruiz. She is our Director of Safety, Security, and Quality Assurance to the podium. This item addresses contractor wage rates related to our workforce shortage for contract personnel associated with the Allied Universal Security Contract. Ms. Ruiz?
Good morning, TMC chairs and committee members. So before you today, and I'll have time obviously to answer some questions, but just to highlight, last October, we started working with Allied when we started seeing the vacancy numbers creeping up. We obviously knew what was going on in the market and the workforce, and this is a high risk, high exposure position. So we were feeling the pinch quite tremendously. Look to Allied to do some more aggressive incentivizing. They have, per the memo here, $1,000 signing bonus, $500 referral for both the referred applicant and the employee that referred them. Also some other incentives as far as hour changes and adjustments. So even with that, we've had an increase in the vacancies. In looking also, having Allied look out globally and look out in the market, the average security entry position is about $17 to $18 an hour. And they're usually static positions, working, monitoring cameras, checking people in, they're not outdoors, and engaging in civil enforcement. And finally, we asked them to look at transit agencies, Metrolink in San Diego. At the time that this market value was looked at, they were going through some contractual issues with their current contractor, not able to meet the demand. So with this, what we're looking at currently is, right now, I took a survey of where we're sitting today. We're contracted on the LRT side for 4546 weekly hours, so 4,546. Just last week, we had Overtime hours for field security officers of 404, which we are not charged. That is a cost inherited by Allied Universal because they're black shifts or dark shifts. So we underrun 1,865 hours just last week. So that's still tremendous. We have 42 vacancies out of 115. So we're hoping with this increase in the hourly rate, we looked at a $3 increase from $16.47 to $19.47 for FSOs and the other positions in the memo that you see consistently. Obviously, a couple of them we did not increase. We kept those flat. We also looked at the underrun for the last fiscal year, and we did have some underrun because, again, these are not full positions that if they're not filled, that we're still charged. These are hourly filled rates. So we did have some underrun. So in the memo, you'll see that we costed those out and looked at the contracted and budgeted amounts for FY22, and we applied those to the final number. So the 2.6 million you see here is the total amount with the VMR and RPTA breakdown. We are also getting staffed up for Super Bowl, so this is also paramount to our staffing. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions from the committee?
Adrian, I had a question. This is Jesus, City of Phoenix. On page 2, it says 67 of the positions were filled out of 114, but then it says a 59% vacancy rate. I assume it's a 59% filled rate, 41% vacancy rate.
Filled rate, yeah, and the time of writing this memo. So the numbers I gave today are the current we have today. So this is the time of the writing the memo. So the 59 vacancy rate is the filled rate should be.
Filled rate.
Yeah, filled
That's
rate.
what I thought.
Yes.
And then can you explain a little bit about what do you mean Valley Metro is in charge for those shifts? How does that work?
So this is a contract billed by our contract. So this means that if you do the FTA numbers of 2080 per year, it equates to a body. We have contracted 45, 46 weekly hours. So those hours that are not filled, we're not charged for them unless those hours are filled with a person.
Okay.
So those underruns are what we apply to the new contracted amount.
Okay, that explains it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
Yes, this is Jody from Mesa, and I think this might be more of a Jim Hilliard question than a specific question. I just want to clarify my understanding from the budget process that this was part of the contingency that was pulled out of the budget, but these numbers, this estimated cost was already factored in to like the Rail City IGAs, so the Rail Cities won't see a budget increase in this because of this.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And in fact, the amount that we're seeing now, because we're looking at a partial year, is significantly less than what was factored into the IGAs.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
And I'd like to just close with one other addition because we did mention this before, and I do have Anthony Heller here, who actually was a former account manager for Allied Universal. He's now the security coordinator. Don Schneidmiller is out on FMLA right now for a medical, so he would be here as well. But we are holding Allied accountable to, if this is approved by the board, that we expect to see not only the positions filled, we have a meeting actually scheduled for the day after the board meeting. We're going to have the district manager, we requested Brent Combs also be present to talk about how Allied is going to fill these vacancies pending Super Bowl, but more importantly, the operational need day to day. These vacancies have hurt us tremendously in our presence on the system. We need to have those vacancies filled. Allied is scheduled also to participate in the next job fair in October. We had great success in the last job fair, thanks to Hillary's team putting that together. And Ray's feeling the pinch just like we are. Just the job market, we did not anticipate this kind of impact, but we are competing with a large pool of open positions, and this is a very high exposure position. And we want to recruit, retain, and train the best qualified people for the position. We believe this hourly rate will definitely help in doing that.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, Julie, it's Eric. I just had one quick question for Adrian.
Please do.
I get all this. It doesn't preclude if the trends in the labor market continue to uptick, if you will. It doesn't preclude future adjustments, correct?
Thank you for the question. I believe what you're referring to is that if we find we don't need the hours of 45, 46 a weekly, we definitely, with notice to the contract, we have a 30-day window where we can make adjustments to the contract, either to reduce or add with board approval, of course, but we can reduce those hours. That is possible, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
anyone else? Great conversation. So I'd like to request a motion and a second to forward to the boards of directors authorization for the CEO to execute a contract change order with Allied Universal Security Services for operations security services in an amount not to exceed $2,649,391 for the period October 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2026, and recommend the board of directors approve the corresponding fiscal year 2023 mid-year budget adjustment to fund the implementation of the change order. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second, Ryan and Chandler.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Members in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item number 5 is Community Relations Support Services On-Call Contract Awards. Ms. Mefford-Miller, all yours.
Thank you, Ms. Cairns. I'd like to invite Hillary Foust, our Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives, to the podium to outline the proposed award of 11 different contracts under the Community Relations and Support Service On-Call Contract Program. Ms. Foust.
Thank you, Jessica. Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for your time. As Jessica mentioned, we are recommending for award 11 different firms, very diverse firms, to help us with our community relations support services needs. We've been using community relations support consultants for many, many years, beginning with the start of Light Rail in our community. They really augment staff to really help us do create public involvement plans, conduct public meetings, now virtual public meetings, help us with research and crisis communications, a variety of needs. And with this RFP that we issued, excuse me, this summer, and thank you for your team's involvement on the evaluation panel, including Ms. Sorrell here this morning. We are recommending, we made some adjustments to the RFP process, wanting to create greater competition, get a greater mix of firms as part of this support services contract. So we issued this RFP where companies could propose on multiple categories. So all or one, as many as think fits your business needs. And we also are making multiple awards in these categories. So we do have a bench of consultant expertise in the various support services categories. So we're happy that we're moving forward with the 11 in the variety of categories. You can see them noted in your packet, and the numbers in bold are what's being recommended for moving forward. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any committee members with questions?
I do have a question. I just want to make sure that I'm reading this right. In the cost and budget, is this actually estimated to be less than the prior 2 years of spend in this space?
So we are recommending a total of 6.5 million, which is about what we've spent in the prior 5 years. In the budget, we have about $1 million based on the work scope for this year. But the 6.5 includes an increase to that $1 million, thinking about what's ahead in the future program. So
Yes,
it's based on what we've spent historically.
Okay, what I guess I was looking at is the second sentence in there. Across the prior 2 fiscal years, Valley Metro spent an average of 1.5. So
Yes.
if the estimated annual expenditure is just north of 1, it sounds like you may actually come in a little bit lower than the 2 prior year spends.
Yeah, so we based it on not only historical spending, but looking at the future program. Obviously, the rail program is changing moving forward, which obviously this contract supports both VMR and RPTA, but VMR is a strong emphasis with the future rail capital programs. So we wanted to be right-sized, but also as accurate as we could be looking across the next 5 years.
I applaud the team for getting the diversity of firms and what you were able to do with the contracts in total of 5 years. So I think that looks great.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, I request a motion and a second to forward to the boards of directors authorization for the CEO to execute 3-year contracts, 2 one-year extensions with 11 firms for on-call services that provide community relations support services, including community relations coordination, business assistance, program development and support, special event planning, crisis communications, and other related services in an amount not to exceed $6.5 million over the up to 5-year period. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, number 6, travel expenditures and solicitations. This item was presented for information only. Do we have any questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Item number 7, report on current events and suggested future agenda items. Do any members have anything they'd like to share? Okay, hearing none. Our next meeting of the TMC RMC is scheduled for Wednesday, October 12th, 2022 at 11 a.m. We'll conclude that meeting and move into, we'll convene the Transit Management Committee meeting. The first item is public comment. The public will be provided an opportunity at this time to address the committees on non-agenda items and all agenda items. I'm sorry, and all action agenda items. Up to 3 minutes will be provided per speaker unless the chair allows more. At his or her discretion, a total of 15 minutes for all speakers will be provided. Do we have public comment?
Yes, Mr. Crowley.
Thank you.
Starting with the minutes, if you'll look what it says I had to say on public comment, it goes, we rode 489. And what I said is, we wrote it for 1989, because that's when it was, we put 400 together. And then pointed out that it took until 04 of 2004 for it finally to go to a vote because of procrastination on the part of the board and different political philosophies. Well, like I've been trying to get some of the input into that document, hopefully it would have been coming from y'all, but things that I want to see is that new plan has every quarter mile stops. That's the industry standard. And because of our atrocious summertime and even well, we're in fall right now, and the temperature was 110 yesterday. Our killer heat, that every stop has to have a cover on it. Now, with the new document, I also want the extension of the rural routes. But to do it correctly this time, have the buses start at the furthest point on the route, as in starting in Aguila, starting in Wickenburg, starting in Tonopah. Oh, Queen Creek, where is the one that you should have had for how long? But if the way that you did the plan last time, the rural routes got flushed because the bus left Arrowhead Mall at 5 in the morning, got out to Wickenburg at 8 o'clock to take people into the Metroplex for work at 10 in the morning, getting to that spot, instead of starting the buses out there, connecting with the park and ride to where people could be coming into town in a timely manner and using it because it functions for them. I know that you guys are the ones that really make everything happen. When I look at each of your communities and how much of a bus desert places like Mesa are, 60% of your city has nothing. Then I also look at Tempe, where they keep on continuing to try to make it as functional as possible. East Valley, you need to come up to the plate, spend a little money, and if that extension doesn't happen, actually run the bus systems and put your more than comments in for it.
Thank you, Mr. Crawley. Item number 2 is minutes. The minutes from the August 3rd, 2022 TMC meeting are presented for action. Do we have any questions from the committee? Hearing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the August 3rd, 2022 TMC meeting minutes?
So moved.
I'll second. David Fountain Hills.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, regional paratransit service replacement vehicles purchase. Ms. Medford-Miller.
Thank you, Ms. Cairns. I'd like to invite Tom Young, Manager of Accessible Transportation Services, to the podium. We have before you this morning for your consideration 2 separate paratransit items. Both signal a shift in our approach to the delivery of paratransit services across the valley, one on vehicles and then one that is focused on the technology which we'll use to dispatch and interact with our customers. As a follow-up to discussion and approval of an item on the August agenda by the full board, Mr. Young and his team have worked with manufacturers to begin to shift some of our vehicle purchases away from cutaways to include smaller vehicles, recognizing that the needs of our customers vary widely, that the maximum load of our paratransit trips also has some gradation, and also that the duty cycle of the vehicles throughout the course of the day may create space for additional vehicle types within our fleet. Mr. Young.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. Good morning, TMC members. It seems like I was just here last month on 54 vehicles that we did switch chassis from a Ford chassis to a GM chassis, primarily because of chassis availability. During that discussion, it was brought up of, do we need full cutaways for our entire fleet? And would smaller vehicles work? At the time that the question brought up, I had researched smaller vehicles and did not find any that actually met Buy America. Since that time, when we made the order of the 54 vehicles, working with manufacturers, the manufacturer did come up and find 26 Chrysler chassis that met Buy America through the Brownability van. So at this time, and actually my commitment last month, if we did find the smaller vehicles, we would pursue. So this request is to make the change of the original 26 vehicles, which were Ford vehicles that were ordered 18 months ago, to change them to the Chrysler chassis, the smaller Brownability van, which we have gotten build schedules that, if approved by the board, we can start seeing these vehicles arrive the end of October, the beginning of November this year. I can answer any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Do we have any questions from the committee?
No questions. I just want to thank Tom for this extra effort to find these vans. I know one council member, one board member will make very happy.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'd like to request a motion and a second to forward to the Board of Directors authorization for the CEO to purchase up to 26 Brownability vans from Creative Bus Sales under the Arizona Department of Administration contract CTR 054848 at a combined federal and local cost not to exceed $1,701,730. A motion and a second.
Move approval, Jesus with Phoenix.
And I'll second. Jody from Mesa.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All members in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, Trapeze pass additional modules for accessible transit. Ms. Bedford-Miller?
Going to pass this over to Tom Young again.
Thank you again, Jessica. A project we've been working on for almost a year now is the actual movement of the Trapeze software. This is our dispatch and scheduling software we use for ADA complementary paratransit from TransDev, who is our contractor, onto Valley Metro's infrastructure. So Valley Metro has full control of the dispatch scheduling software as well as all the data involved with it. Number one, I'm happy to say that we will be going live, as scheduled right now for September 23rd, on the Trapeze system under Valley Metro's infrastructure. As part of that move, we looked at all of the current modules that TransDev had in place and realized that they had a third-party IVR system that does the notification of customers the night before and also gives customers a call up to 30 minutes prior to the bus arriving the day of service. After further research, we looked at the third-party software, and we asked Trapeze, who owns the dispatch and scheduling software, to provide us information on their IVR or notification system. After review, we did find that the software that Trapeze provides not only gives the same services as the third-party TransDev was using, but it also became easier to manage because there's one software vendor managing the whole system, and it was cost-effective. So part of this recommendation is for the purchase of the Trapeze notification system to ensure that customers continue, or the ADA paratransit customers continue to receive the services they have today as we make this final transaction. The second piece of this, as we move forward with implementation of the combined administration of the ADA paratransit in the Ride Choice program, we're asking to add additional modules that is called the Pass app, the Pass web, and Easy Wallet. This will actually give customers the ability to make reservations by their phone, make reservations by their computer, and actually pay their fare electronically without having to give customers cash. For the Ride Choice program, customers currently have that available to them through our third-party contractor or broker. So we're adding these modules to Trapeze to ensure December of next year, as we implement the Ride Choice program with the joint administration, those customers have the same resources available to them then as they have today. The final piece I'm going to say is, as we implement all these modules, it will also give us the ability to manage additional demand response type services, such as microtransit in the future, if that's warranted. So I can answer any questions at this time.
Thank you for that information. Do I have any questions or comments from the committee?
This is Jesus from Phoenix. I have a question. Tom, thank you for this. I would ask that Phoenix and Valley Metro work together on rolling out the new modules, because we are also looking at the newer abilities of Trapeze to send texts and notifications to customers. So if we could do that kind of jointly, I think that would serve our customers best. My question is there an expected reduction to the TransDev contract because you're taking the software over, or what happens to that funding that TransDev is currently expending?
So if you go back about 2.5 years ago, when change order 3 was negotiated with TransDev, part of their cost was associated with Valley Metro taking over the licenses of the software. So their cost had been reduced over the licenses. And then the current year cost is also reduced somewhat of us taking over the infrastructure, so they don't have to manage that. So it was worked into change order 3 cost.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I request a motion and a second to forward to the Board of Directors authorization for the CEO to procure additional software modules and professional services for Trapeze. The period of authorization is fiscal year 2023 through fiscal year 2025 in an amount not to exceed $689,000 plus a 5% contingency of $35,000 for a total not to exceed authorization amount of $724,000. I have a motion and a second.
Move approval. This is Jesus.
Second, Eric.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Item number 5 is a report on current events and suggested future agenda items. Does anyone from the committee have anything for this item? Okay, hearing none, our next meeting is on Wednesday, October 12th, 2022 at 11 a.m. And with that, I close this meeting and turn it over to the next group.
It's just you four.
I'll just wait. I'll wait people dropping off on. Okay. Okay. Ready to go? All right, call to order this meeting of Rail Management Committee for Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. First item on our agenda is public comment. The public will be provided an opportunity at this time to address the committee on non-agenda items and all action agenda items. Up to 3 minutes will be provided per speaker, unless the chair allows for more at his or her discretion. Is there anyone who are brought cards to speak today?
Mr. Crowley.
Okay, thank you.
And I got here up here in a timely manner because your new CEO, I pointed out that we needed to cover those drinking fountains, and I don't know what's happening on it at the moment, but there was movement and trying to get the system aware of those things and get it done. But then I look at my favorite thing of the legacy of Mr. Smith, and that's the light rail going out to the Capitol. Now, when you're planning it and building it, was it you, Phoenix, that decided that it shouldn't be multimodal? Because there's no stop at 7th. There's no stop for 15th. The way that 19th is set up is shaky. And then 27th Avenue, because if it's not multimodal to begin with and planned that way, why do you think that it's going to be effective? Now with 7th Avenue and 15th Avenue, that's inputting from all north side, but 7th Avenue and 19th, you would also be getting south side traffic. Now I know that we're getting the central stop and those 7th Avenue people could walk a half a mile. We're trying to make the system as convenient for the customer as possible, not as convenient as possible for the rail. Because when we leave it to you, what do? Well, we make sure that that rail doesn't have any encumbrance like, oh yeah, multimodal stops. And if that was what you were trying to do for, what was it, 30 million bucks you're paying these people to design it? You're getting your money's worth then. But I don't think that's the way it should have been. So is it Phoenix that we need to get off the dime and fix the situation and have the designers go back and do it right? Or is it this committee? Or is it both of you going to point at each other and say, not my fault? Now, I unfortunately was going through some heavy things back when you guys were doing the planning in this, so I didn't have a chance to bang the drum on it. But now that I've been up here, almost 11 months, pointing out that it's not multimodal and you're not doing the job effectively. What have you done to fix it? So is it Phoenix that we got to go over to and go before the council and ask them why it is that their planners do it ineffectively and inefficiently? For what? Oh yeah, all of that is within the city of Phoenix. Please get the job done right, and thank you for those covers coming for the drinking fountains.
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time? No? Okay, closing item number 1, move to item 2, approval of the August 3rd, 2022 RMC meeting minutes. Assuming you've had an opportunity to review those minutes, do I hear a motion? Hear a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Having been moved in second, all in favor of approval of the August 3rd, 2022 RMC meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Now we move on to item number 3, non-revenue vehicle purchases. Ms. Bedford Miller, do we have a presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair Ching. I'd like to invite Mr. Ray Abraham, Valley Metro's Chief Operating Officer, to the podium to introduce this item, which seeks approval and advancement to the board of the purchase of 8 light-duty non-revenue vehicles, 5 are expansion, and 3 are replacement vehicles. Mr. Abraham.
Thank you, Jessica. Mr. Chair, members of the RMC, you have before you is, as Jessica said, recommendation for us to purchase 8 non-revenue vehicles to support the light rail system, to support the Tempe streetcar addition, and to give more flexibility for our customer experience coordinators and our staff with our staff shortages, putting more people in single occupancy automobiles as opposed to going out in teams. So the additional fleet is definitely needed. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions from the board? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further to add? Okay. All right, at this time, entertain a motion for the forwarding to the Board of Directors authorization for the CEO to purchase non-revenue vehicles through an Arizona State cooperative agreement from Sanderson Ford for an amount not to exceed $271,000. Do I have a motion?
Move approval. This is Jesus, Phoenix.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Item number 3 carries unanimously. Next, item 4, report on current events and suggested future agenda items. We have any members who have any current events or suggested future agenda items? Okay, hearing none, close item 4. Move on to item 5. Next meeting of the RMC is scheduled for Wednesday, October 12th at 11 a.m. At that point now, we conclude the meeting. Thank you.